Hello and welcome back to another episode of For Azeroth. I am one of your hosts, Manny, aka the True Villain Manny, and it is a two-man show today. Happy Thanksgiving to all of you in the US that are celebrating that. And yes, I am joined, we're one person down, but I am joined by my fellow Canadian, Sean. Hello, Sean. How are you? And how's the World of Warcraft been treating you?
Hello, Manny. Hello. I am doing quite well. I hope you are as well. The World of Warcraft has been treating me, I guess, about the same as is to be expected, except today they gave me a giant gift of an announcement. So all kinds of hype and a little bit of dread as of right now with today's news.
I can definitely get the dread. We're gonna get that to that. I'm sorry to tease everybody. But you'll be happy to know I finally got my first 80 in Lemix. I've been slowly trudging away, so I've capped out there on the character. Been working through on that. Got most of, not all of the cheaper mounts. So the ones that are like 10k or whatever, got most of those. And I'm happy that the leveling's done. It is something that I have to just go and do what you were talking about, that like run of the dungeons and such. Maybe I should talk to Bega so I can do it faster than trying to plug in myself.
If you want, I clear the raids. Your best gain of power is going to be doing the raids. I do the raids on Mythic every day. Now that you're 80, if you want to come with me, you can come with me, but I do it at reset, usually. Okay. So right, I don't know what you're. But you don't have
work
to do
schedules prevailing. We'll see how it goes.
You just need to be able to log in and stand at the entrance. That's it.
I think I can do that. I can do that.
Yeah,
all right,
so we can get you geared up.
This is
we can
awesome.
Rip through the dungeons too. Do all the dungeons on Mythic. Yeah, we are almost at the point where we can carry a 49. My friend and I. So actually, we probably can now. We just before the show. We just three-chested a 43, just the two of us. So we could probably do a 49.
That's awesome. This is so much easier for us birds. We don't even have to jump in between the teeth where you might get hurt. We just stand back.
That's right. The alligator comes to you.
There you go. All right.
If you are listening, though, if you're listening to this and you're like, oh, man, I love Legion Remix, that's great. But keep listening, because at the end of the show, we're going to tell you how you can enter to win an epic edition of Midnight right here on YouTube. So listen to the end, or maybe somewhere in the middle. Nobody knows where we're going to put it. It's going to be a mystery where we put it, or just read whatever the top comment says and copy that. But somewhere in there, we're going to be giving away another copy of the Epic Edition here, alongside giveaways that we're doing on Twitter and Instagram.
Yeah, so 3 chances to win, and those are 3 separate contests, so you could enter all 3 for your best chances. With that said, let's get right into the news then. The big announcement that has been making waves, that has been making you excited, you're saying, filling me with a bit of dread, which we'll go into, is, of course, World of Warcraft Midnight has a launch date. It is officially going to be coming out on March 2nd, 2026. And so, mark your calendars, folks. Talk to your bosses about time off. Make sure that you, if they don't give you the time off, you contract a convenient little cold around that same time, and enjoy. Of course, that means people who are getting early access, you'll be getting early access 3 days before. We believe that to be February 27th. And then if you have an account that has Midnight, that means that this coming reset, you're going to be getting into the housing that's coming with 11.2.7. And yeah, this is it, guys. This is literally now the countdown to Midnight. Everything is going towards the new expansion. And Sean, you had been making guesses. You had marked your calendar about where this was going to be. And this isn't quite it. But what's your feelings about this date?
So I was off. If you go to the For Azeroth Discord at bit.ly/FazDiscord and check the pinned messages in our modern conversation channel, you'll see that my predicted launch date was February 10th, with the latest being February 17th that I predicted. So if we go by my latest option, February 17th, and then the early access, February 27th, I'm only off by 10 days, which isn't too bad for a guess that I made in June. How do I feel about it? I'm happy that it's not February. I was really worried that it was going to be February. I am still a bit nervous that this might be too soon. I've already seen people say things online along the lines of, hey, look, see, guys, we have all kinds of time. It's March. But when you remove the 3 weeks for the holidays and Christmas, you're really looking at like 9 weeks of development time that they have left, which is just over 2 months. And that makes me nervous. We have a lot of work left to do to get the game at a state where it is playable by everyone, and there's no safety net. Like, this isn't Cooldown Manager in 11.1.5 where if it doesn't work, it's okay. Everybody can still keep using Tell Me When or their weak aura packs. This is it. This is jumping without a parachute. So I'm nervous. I think it's still probably too soon, but I'm glad that it's in March. Also, somebody ran the numbers, and this launch date means that 12.1 will be launching somewhere around the range of GTA 6 launch, which might not be the best financial decision by Blizzard, but who knows? There might not be a lot of overlap there.
Maybe, I don't know. Like those sort of Juggernaut games, I think they pull from a lot of types. So you're right there. I don't think there's any way that I'm not happy that this is later than we initially expected. I'm right there with you. I was already calculating weeks and everything and wondering like, oh man, like how bad this might be. You're right. This is no safety net. This is them having to land it. When you lock in a date like this, you are now responsible for every mishap that happens along the way, both to the players and the player experience, but also the developers and all the crunch that they might now suffer to get this out the door in a workable fashion. And I don't need it to be perfect, but when you remove the ability for players to compensate, it's like we said last week, it's now on them. So, hey, we've got a lot of episodes to go through, and some of the things that we're seeing are in the right direction. The question is it fast enough? Do we have the velocity, regardless of like the direction?
Yeah.
But as I was saying, that means that if you've bought Midnight or you've got one of the digital versions, that means that you will be getting housing next week. And Blizzard has a special contest that is all about housing. So, Sean, can I get you to read our next story?
Yeah, so there's a new competition coming up called World of Decorcraft, Azeroth's Next Top Builder. And this is what looks to be like a home and garden style reality show being hosted by Zepla, Esfand, and Annie Fuchsia, who will be judging neighborhoods and houses built by people who apply. The December 2nd is the kickoff event live on Twitch, with the 3rd to the 9th being the build week, and then December 10th will be the finale event live on Twitch. And the criteria for this, the finalists are going to have to build a house in World of Warcraft and show it off. And the judges won't be just looking for the prettiest house. They're going to be looking for creativity, resourcefulness, and self-expression. In order to enter, there's a form you have to fill out, and then they're going to be selecting people that can enter. So this isn't just open to anyone. They are going to be selecting the potential competitors, and then introducing them in the kickoff stream. And then they'll build their own schedule throughout the week with a midweek check-in from the hosts. It's and they're giving away a bunch of stuff. So they're giving away a physical collector's edition of Midnight. They're giving away a housing mug, that sweet one that they sent to Manny. And they're also giving away some holiday sweaters. And everybody's going to get the Epic Edition code. All 6 finalists will get a code for the Epic Edition, and some WoW game time. Man, this is pretty exciting stuff. It's fun. It was only a matter of time before we started seeing these HGTV shows start popping up around housing. And I'm not surprised that this first one is starring such big names like Esfand, Annie Fuchsia, and Zipla.
Yeah, I'm happy to see this. I saw this and I immediately thought of you, Sean. I was like, this is what Sean wants, where you get to see all this wonderful creativity and you don't have to get frustrated trying to build it yourself. And as I was thinking about this, I put myself in your shoes, Sean. I was just sort of like, yeah, I would love to see an amazing greenhouse or like a perfect little kitchen, but I ain't going to screw with that myself.
Yeah.
And it felt right. So I like this. I like this a lot. I hope this is good. I was looking at those prizes and being like, man, I would love to get those prizes yourself. Like, even if you're second or third place, which, is still an achievement, I want that holiday sweater, man. I want that holiday sweater. And there's nothing to be to scoff at when you get like 6 or 8 months of game time. Yeah, lots of good stuff there. The application is only open until Thursday, November 27th at 12 p.m. PST, which is tomorrow. I will edit this episode fast and get it out to give you as much notice as possible. But get your applications in there. I'm looking forward to this. I'm going to definitely check out the finale and probably check out the kickoff event just to see what it is. And see all that creativity, because I think this is exactly what the doctor ordered for somebody who isn't engaging directly like myself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's going to be great. Can't wait. 10 out of 10. My money is on, I think, the finalists without knowing who's even entering. I would like to see for finalists Miss Marvel, The Cottage Wizard, Mega Art, and Persephone. Those 4 have been like the most active housing mains that I've been watching. They all do amazing stuff. I would be shocked if at least 2 of them aren't in the finalists.
Well, the weird thing about the finalists is that it's 3 Alliance and 3 Horde. So if all 4 of those, I think I've seen them all running Alliance cottage core kind of stuff.
Yeah, maybe.
So they would knock each other off. So now you've got like 3 wild cards on the Horde side.
Yeah. 3 mud huts. Good luck.
3 mud huts vying for the win. Yeah, like I do think that this is going to be a fun thing. I'm hoping that it's not just celebrities. If you are entering, you don't need a webcam. You don't need to be streaming. You just need to be able to call in and speak on voice. That is a requirement for this. But even if you don't have early access because you don't have the expansion, being selected, they will flag your account and give you early access. So it doesn't matter. Anybody can make an attempt to be a competitor. You don't have to pre-purchase for this, and I love that. Okay, with that said, let's turn to a little bit of catch up, because as soon as we recorded last episode, and between last episode and this episode, we've gotten a number of Blizzard posts that talk about various things that we were covering last episode, and it circles back to what a streamer that I frequent has been saying. These kind of conversations need to happen ahead of time. It is, I think it was called gaslighting for them to come after the fact 6 days later and say, oh, we were always looking for feedback.
Yeah.
That's going to be a common criticism, so I'm just going to put that up front right now.
Yeah, I'm not sure which streamer it is that you're watching that's having such incredibly insightful takes, but they sound extremely attractive. Yeah, let's hear some more.
I'm sorry to let you know they're taken. They're not married, but they do have a permanent partner.
Yeah.
She's
probably fantastic.
So, Sean, do you want to take this away?
Yeah, so we're talking about damage meters. So the community has been upset about damage meters. We got them. Damage meters were released to us for the raid, and immediately it was noticed that they are lacking in some areas. No death recount in there. No enemy damage done, so you can't tell who's doing what damage to what mobs. Missing a lot of fine detail breakdowns that we have in details now, and we've had in damage meters for a long time. So the community was upset, and rightfully so, and voiced it. And Blizzard responded with an article that said, hey, whoa, just so everybody knows. And this was from show favorite community manager Kyvax. No shade to the other community managers. I love Kyvax. Came out and said, hey, listen, these are a work in progress. We wanted to get them to you in this state now. We know they're missing stuff, but we wanted to get them in your hands for the raid testing. Don't worry. Here's some of the things that are going to be coming to it. And then they mentioned that damage from sources like Whirlwind and Immolation Aura will be consolidated into a single event. They manage that self-damage sources like Stagger and Burning Rush will not be showing up. That is a bug, which we all knew was a bug, but people were still like really angry that it was happening because it's something that was solved a long time ago. But they're going to fix it. Don't worry. That was planned. Pets and Guardians are going to be intermingled and then moved to the bottom. They're going to be improving some of the default settings. They're going to be implementing a damage taken breakdown because right now there isn't one. A death recap in future builds, which is several weeks out. And then they closed with an explanation saying that, they put this out before implementing this because they wanted early feedback. They wanted it in our hands, but this was always the intent. And Kyvax, the message is good. That message that you sent is good. And I obviously realize that the community managers aren't the sole responsibilities for what gets said and when. It's just, this happens to be a case of we're going to address the messenger, even though the messenger may not have been the deciding factor. This messaging needed to come Tuesday before we got into the raid. Having it come afterwards. And it's like, I need to do this calmly. I'm going to stay calm while I do this. A lot of people in the community, I've been really frustrated this week because when the transmog news hit that we're going to talk about, a lot of people, when the transmog news came out, urinated blood. Like they screamed murder over the price of things in transmog and how horrible it was and how Blizzard wasn't listening. And then when people were giving feedback on the damage meters, those same people were like, oh, you 1%ers don't care. The damage meters don't even matter. You're going to use logs anyway. And it's like, listen, I get it. You don't understand how valuable a tool a damage meter is in the dungeon. I understand that. That's okay. You don't have to know. Maybe you have somebody else on your raid team who does know, or maybe you're not doing content where it matters. But for a lot of people, that damage meter is a great tool. It's much better than logs because you can't check logs mid-pull. When we were giving this feedback, we were worried about it, and then they came out and said this message, and then all those people were like, see, we told you, it's beta. We always knew this was going to be the case. But here's the thing, folks. Here's my issue. All of those people coming out saying that, talking down to people who are worried about this feature that's coming that has no alternative when we go live. This is it. You get this damage meter. There's no other option. There's no plan B. It is plan B. It's plan B, plan C, and plan D. When it comes out, it might come out in this state, and we're giving this feedback. If we don't know ahead of time, if this message comes ahead of time, then a lot of these concerns people have, they're not even worried about it. And they're worried because we got a cooldown manager that launched in 11.1.5 without the basic ability to reorder the position of the abilities in it. So for people to sit online and be like, it's a beta, obviously they're going to obviously these changes were going to happen. It makes so much sense. It's like, well, I would have said, obviously I could put my cooldown manager spells in whatever order I want, but I couldn't do that for 2 patches, man. So anyway, the point is, it's a good message. It's great that they're alleviating our concerns a little bit. We still don't know what features will or won't make it for launch because they have told us flat out not everything's going to make it for launch. We're going to have collateral damage. But this messaging, and we're going to see this again in 2 news stories, the very next news story, but this messaging needs to come beforehand. Please start being proactive with it, because when it comes after, like Manny's extremely attractive, successful streamer friend said, it feels a little bit like you're gaslighting us when you say it afterwards. Anyway.
Yeah.
Does that about sum it up, Manny? Does that about cover everything?
That about sums it up. I guess the next step is to find everything that he didn't mention on this list and go in the replies. What about this? What about that? Because the problem with not being proactive is that nobody knows what you have eyes on and what's falling between the cracks. Mm-hmm. And it would have been so much easier for the Warcraft developers to maybe have had a summit of various creators of add-ons and say, what have you found are the most desired and wanted features? Yeah. And, have had that dialogue to then say, hey, community, this is what's coming. This is what's coming. It's not all going to be implemented right away.
Yep.
And go from that. Because even with that kind of conversation, something that we would put forward as like, hey, this is important, is because we assume other things are going to land correctly.
Right.
Right? And when you get something like name bars flying all over the place, I swear, that was not on my list of things Blizzard better get straight.
Right.
But having now experienced it, I'm like, come on. Yeah. Why is this not something Blizzard got straight?
Yeah. How is this possibly tied to the API we've turned on? The secret value is knowing what position the mob is actually in.
Secret values is knowing how screwed you are. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, you're right. Like, you nailed it. It's if they're proactive, if this message comes out first, then we're less stressed. We're like, okay, they have their eyes on this. I don't have to worry. But when this message comes after, it's like, okay, well, I was worried, and you're addressing some of the things I was worried about, but you didn't mention anything else. Whereas if the message comes first, then we're not so hyper fixated on the things they don't mention. It's cause for concern, and I really hope we see a shift after the Thanksgiving break of these messages preceding. Have them come out with the patch notes. It's Tuesday. We're getting a new beta build. Here's your dump. Here, especially if you have known bugs. Like, if you have a known bug, just say this is a known issue, and they have done that. It's not like they don't know how to do that. They have done that this beta cycle with the edit mode. When the edit mode button was disappeared on alpha, it was the last line of the patch notes. We know the edit mode is missing. Here's how you can get around it. I mean, nobody read to the bottom. They all kept asking where the edit mode was. It was like, oh, all right, just scroll. Maybe if I was Blizzard, I'd be like, you know what? F them. They're not even reading these patch notes.
But the conversation in the community is, come on, you didn't read the last line. Here it is.
Yeah.
Which is a completely different, like, that's no, as a person who maybe if I was the guy, like, who was the community manager, the community going amongst themselves and being like, hey, it's the last line, just do this, is far different than, like, everybody like, oh my god, it's not working, and like, my god, they're going backwards in time and it builds.
Yeah, this is like SCADA. Shout out to SCADA, by the way. Great damage meter.
But I'm happy to see these changes. Honestly, I think that the stuff that I really want to see with the damage meters is stuff that I think that they're going to implement. Like, every time they do these things and it opens up, there's always the, like, your screen goes a little bit dim, and it's like, hey, make sure you click this for this option, make sure you click through this, and every single time, because, like, I've been on the beta, I've read the articles, blah blah blah, I go, I just want to skip this, but that stuff I know they're gonna put in, right? And so when I was saying, hey, it's unintuitive, I didn't hark on that much because they have a proven track record. But as Sean has said multiple times, right, they have launched stuff without crucial features. And so other things I am very much concerned about. And so they need to address that, not just based on like what they know is coming, but what they've actually communicated to us. With that said, I'm going to skip around a bit because I'd like to actually speak about
the same messaging coming up next.
I'd like to talk about the Mythic Plus.
Okay.
Right? I'd like to talk about the Mythic Plus. They once again, we had that conversation last week. I was talking about some particular things. I had the complaint of Pit of Sauron being like, my goodness, this is the worst case scenario. It is so ridiculous. And then juxtaposing that with saying like it's not even consistent. And then we get these hot fixes, which hit the Pit of Sauron and another dungeon where number one on the list is we've reduced the mob density. Mm-hmm. And a big point on Pit of Sauron is the spam casting ads that I hated. They're just gone. Mm-hmm. They're gone. And so like, I remember watching you running this, and it was like, this doesn't seem as bad as I remember because I hadn't seen this update. Mm-hmm. And I wish they had said, hey, we're putting this forward. We are already concerned about this and this. Mm-hmm. What was your impression of all of these? Because, again, it's still a work in progress. And I think it still needs some improvements.
Yeah, it's tough. I had a talk today with Ellesmere that was really good, really insightful, very passionate about the game and where the direction we're headed and everything. And one of the things that he pointed out is it's really tough to give feedback because, as Blizzard has said, and as we have said, and it might be Manny's favorite phrase, none of these things exist in a vacuum. So we've got class changes, we have UI changes, and we have dungeon testing to do, and then the whole entire philosophy of reduced complexity, reduced cognitive load, but for the same challenge that you're used to. And it's hard to judge how good or bad the dungeons are when you're also fighting your UI in order to do some of the things in the dungeon. So when I tested through, they hadn't yet put the nameplate fix in yet. So nameplates were still sort of jumping all over the place, and the bug still exists. It is being addressed, but the bugs will still exist where nameplates of mobs that weren't in combat with you were like in amongst your nameplates that you were in combat with. So that's tough. And I am really struggling with the loss of information when it comes to external defensives that are available, AoE stops, and kicks that are available from my party. And I imagine my healer friends are becoming even more frustrated than not knowing what defensives other players in the team have. And that was part of that. So I'll try to, ignoring the UI issues, thinking just of the dungeons themselves, I would say that they're in a decent starting point, I think, but they still are going to need lots of changes to bring them in line with the new world we live in, where we just have no idea what any of our friends are capable of doing throughout. And it's funny, I talked to Anjali about this, who only plays Warcraft at a very superficial level, and explained to her the new changes that were happening and that kind of information that we were losing. And she was like, well, that's so stupid. If this was real life and you were standing next to your friends, you would know if they could do something. And I'm like, yeah, I would. If you have, anyway, it was something that she thought was funny. So for the most part, I think these are okay. Ick and Crick can suck. Ick and Crick is not, I'm a very good rhymer, Manny, but Ick and Crick was not fun. The interrupt requirement on that fight is very high. There are 3 ads that are spawned. One of them casts a one-shot cast that you have to interrupt. The other 2 cast channeled channeled spells that do a lot of damage that you want to interrupt, and then you have to focus target kill them. But only interrupts work, so stuns and CCs don't work. So now you're limited. You only have 4 because your healer won't have one unless you have a Resto Shaman.
Yep. Maximum 4 because you have particular classes that just don't have interrupts.
Yeah. So we had 4 out of 5 people in our group were in voice comms, and even we struggled to coordinate the kicks on that fight. And while that's happening, there's area of denial happening with the tank mechanic. Ick has a ton of health, so you're constantly moving him on and off of ads that you want to be cleaving that are priority kill. It was just a miserable fight, which was unfortunate because the other 2 bosses in that dungeon felt really good. Scourge Lord Tyrannus got a huge glow up from his Wrath version. I would say he was fun to do. Very easy to understand the mechanics and everything. So Ick and Crypt was rough. And we struggled with like I said, the lack of knowledge of who has what available. I know that they think that it's a competitive advantage, and it's not just a competitive advantage. Like it feels required. Like it is an advantage to know what people have interrupts available, what externals are available. But the solution shouldn't be to take that away from everybody. It should be to make it more obvious to everybody, because it is so integral in doing keys at any level above 2. Like, to not know, even if you're in a pug, now I just don't know who's got kicks. So we're all going to overlap our kicks on the first cast every time. And then I don't know if you have a defensive. So do you need intervene? Do I need to sack you? I don't know. I don't know what defensives you have. I hope we're in voice comms. That's the only way. And, as a tank, can I call for Ironbark? Can I call for Guardian Spirit? And we don't know. We're going to have to be in this world where it's just like, I don't know. It's rough. But that's not the dungeons. The dungeons specifically felt okay. Algathar Academy, I think, is going to suffer a lot from the change to nameplates. One of the things Blizzard's, specifically the coloring mobs based on their type. One of the things Blizzard said was that they would adjust their naming convention so that it's easy to tell what mobs are casters and what mobs aren't. And they would do things like with the designs of the mobs as well. Well, in Algathar Academy, 60% of the mobs are an axe, a wand, or a book. Those are not very big models to see when you're playing at max zoom, which a lot of people do.
I will say, though, I am not expecting a book to be a melee beater. I think I can successfully expect that the wand is a caster as well.
Yeah, you're right. But then it goes to the dragons, and it goes to some of the other characters, like the bugs that fly around the main area. They cast stuff you don't really know. Anyway, it felt okay. There's changes to. I want to highlight this. If you are listening to this show and you have played Dragonflight any season, and you are getting ready to go into Midnight, and you're going to do Algathar Academy, they have changed to the way Croth works. Croth is the big bird. So in Dragonflight, he would do a screech that every time he did it, put a stacking debuff on the party. When he threw the orbs out for Kickatall or whatever it's called,
that Ruinous Wind mechanic thing, yeah.
Yeah, you would delay holding it. You would pick up the ball, and you would
It's not a channel anymore?
No. It was never a channel. It used to be a channel. No, so it used to be his AoE screech would happen.
Yeah.
And that puts a debuff on it's big damage, it puts a debuff on the party. And then when you kick the balls through, it resets your stacks. So you would delay usually till about 4 stacks of the screech debuff before kicking that third ball through. That has changed. Now it is a cast that he starts, the balls spawn, and it's a very long cast. It's like 8 seconds, maybe 10 seconds. And if that cast gets off, it's just massive damage and you're going to die.
Oh.
So you're no longer delaying kicking the balls through. As soon as those balls spawn, you want to kick the first 2 through fast. You can hold on to the last one and kick it through just before his cast finishes, but you have to kick it through before his cast finishes. Otherwise, it's going to be a bad time. So if you're going into Midnight, that boss has changed. It's no longer delaying and holding on to those orbs. So please keep, if you take nothing else from this episode today, take that and the fact that we're doing a giveaway over on YouTube. You can enter by just putting Faz Gift in the description or in the comments of this video. There, we said it in the middle. Nobody will ever guess.
Gotta be paying attention and put Faz Gift in the comments of this video.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, and be following the YouTube channel or subscribed or whatever it is.
So, again, a lot of this stuff is the right direction. It's just a matter of can they do this in time. I know we're talking about mechanics, and I feel like that stuff can. Well, at least it has one additional week before the Mythic Plus season opens up, before we get into season 1. But the entire behavior and renaming mobs and making sure that things are clear, that's part of the philosophy that they're putting down. And so that stuff, I feel, is something that should be like just going through the list and being like, do those have similar names? Do they have different functions? All right, we gotta change that. And it's something that, sorry,
they don't have, like, even visually. So that's something I said is I would want every soak mechanic to look the same. Like, if it's a soak, I want it to look the same so that I know this is a soak. If it's a frontal to avoid, I want it to always look the same so I know, if it's a thing to get out of, they should all look the same. There should be no variation, maybe the color, but that should be it. It should be easy for people to know what this is. And they do have a pretty good one for soaks. You get those little swirls that come up off of them. That tells you if it's a soak. But you need to implement this stuff. Skyreach has 0 new graphics there in it. There are 2 mobs that do frontals. One of them is a boss. One of them is a trash mob. The only indicator that a frontal is happening is that the enemy puts its hand up. That's it. And then you have to be able to figure out what direction it's facing. And then you have no idea, is it a line? Is it a cone? Is it 180 degrees? And when I say like there's no indicator, it's not like, oh, it's a slight indicator. There's no indicator.
Yeah, it's just prior knowledge of that
Yeah.
boss. It's the only thing that's going to save you, which is something Ian was talking about like, hey, does that knowledge carry through? Is that part of like mastery of the game, is like applying that knowledge? And I think there's a happy medium. I have no issue with like this boss having a frontal that is a line mechanic versus this boss having a cone, right? But I feel like it needs to be properly telegraphed, right? Like, I think that we were talking about the raid testing last week and how there's that line for the one boss in the Dream Rift. Mm-hmm. That, like, I don't want to know, was I like one toe in or not. I want to know that line is there. Mm-hmm. And I think that even if after the effect, it's clearly shown that this is where that line was, it really needs to be clear. When the birds blow up in Skyreach, right? I want to know what that circle was and what the circle of the ashes was to see that overlap. I don't want to be like, oh, I had the slightest little bit of a Venn diagram and that screwed up my run. Like, that's how you get frustration. And that's not changing the timing of any of these things. It's just better telegraphing, which is a issue that they were solving in the War Within, and is just that much more important now that they're taking away all these other things that were adjusting for mental load in other places. Mm-hmm. So,
yep.
Yeah. Overall, really good changes. Really happy to see the caster changes in the Pit of Sauron, because I was very upset about that dungeon in particular. Looking forward to seeing some more changes, because they've only adjusted 2 of the 4. And then when we come back next week, we're going to get the other 4 dungeons for Season 1. And when are we going to be able to test and practice with these ones? So, let's see where it goes from there. Mm-hmm. That said, let's talk about the last boss of the Voidspire, which has been data mined. This was not available for raid testing, but Wowhead was able to see
it was tested.
all of. It was tested?
Yeah. Guilds were killing...
it wasn't scheduled for testing. People could get in and test it without...
shouldn't have been tested. Yeah. Shouldn't have been able to be tested. Teams killed the boss prior to this and then had time to pull it.
I see. Okay. So, Sean, tell us about this unscheduled testing, because last bosses are not, for the last little bit, have been black boxes that you should not have been able to get hands-on experience with. And I wonder if Blizzard is going to like radically change the boss because of this. Anyways, let's deal with that.
Yeah, I hope they
later.
do, because the way he looks now, Not very difficult. So I don't want to give spoilers out for this boss because I know we probably have listeners who like to go into the raid fresh. So I'm not going to go deep into it. I just want to talk about one mechanic, which was like the main mechanic that people were seeing during the testing. The boss flashes 4 symbols in a random order. They're the same symbols as the raid markers or world markers. So they flash 4 in an order. Then those 4 get applied to a person. And then those people have to line up, and the boss does a beam in a counterclockwise arc, and it has to hit the icon, the symbol, in the same order that it flashed them. And when this initially came out, people were like, oh, look, see, if weak auras existed, they could never have done this boss. And that's wrong. And I'm concerned that you don't know what a weak aura is, if that was your takeaway from this boss. Because the best way to deal with that mechanic would simply be to put a world marker down for each one as it spawns. Everybody, your raid leader probably has world markers on a OPI or a quick mouse wheel. So skull spawns, you put a skull down. Diamond spawns, you put a diamond down. Triangle spawns, you put a triangle down. X spawns, you put an X down. And then the people just go stand on their marker. That would be the best way. A weak aura can't put world markers down. It simply can't. So this isn't a mechanic that was suddenly unlocked with the removal of weak auras. This was something that they could have done this tier, for example, if they wanted to. And it sparked. So I've been really thinking a lot about the statement that, the arms race. And I've said a couple times that I don't really believe that this arms race is real. And this really, for me, solidified it, that I really think it's disingenuous, and it's a disservice to the Blizzard devs for them or for the community to say that there's this arms race and that weak auras limit and restrict their design space, because there are 7 bosses this raid tier that don't require weak auras. And it's one of the most fun and most exciting raid tiers that I've ever played. And they designed that in a world where weak auras exist. There's exactly one boss in this raid where you need a weak aura to solve it for you. And that was designed that way by choice. So I
mean, all bosses are designed by choice.
Right. Yeah, you're right. So I know they've said it. Our design space is limited. But this boss is not an example of a design space that was opened up by the removal of weak auras. And in all honesty, none of the bosses we've tested, we haven't tested Mythic yet, but none of the bosses we've tested on Heroic show any indication that they had suddenly magically opened up ways and mechanics that they could use that would have been solved by weak auras, and these mechanics are not fun. It all feels like stuff they could have done this tier. And so it just makes me question even more, why are we in this situation? Anyway, the last boss was tested. If you want to see it, you can see it. But
I do want to speak on that. I think that you are right in that the main mechanics of the bosses that I have tested or seen tested, right, have not been stuff that couldn't exist in a world with weak auras. Okay? Mm-hmm. However, the things that go in around those mechanics are the stuff that the escalation's about. In this testing versus previous testing, I have seen far less bosses that are like constant compelled movement with short like I need to move immediately. I will say immediately the exception that comes to mind is the tic-tac-toe boss. That boss has so many void zones that come out on a regular basis, right? But in terms of like structurally, like how frequently you're pushing your casters to like split move to avoid something, or how much you're expecting players to handle this mechanic but also handle this mechanic, I think there's been a de-escalation there in terms of like how many mechanics are overlapping right now, not in the exact way that they do mechanics, and how quickly you're able to respond to this mechanic, right, seems a bit more lenient. Like, I could see this being something where I would compare it against, what's his name? Saladar, right? Mm-hmm. Saladar has this tank mechanic where it is ABBA or ABAB sort of thing, and it requires pretty quick reaction time on the tank spot on the tanks to respond to that. And if I was saying I need to give people more time to react to that intelligently without the use of some assistance, right? I could see Saladar being slower on how he casts those tank busters.
There's no weak aura for that. There's not currently a weak aura for that. So we are already dealing with that without weak auras. That tank mechanic. Yeah, there's no there's no weak aura that assists you to make that decision faster. It doesn't exist. So it's not an example of something that was designed it's not, the casts aren't the speed they are because we're getting assistance from a weak aura on them.
No.
There is no weak aura assisting us on them. So those casts are just the speed they are. If they slowed that down, that would be a massive snooze fest.
No, but you're looking at the that going along with the dragons coming in from the side, as well as the claws going out. I'm saying all the things collapsing in on top of each other.
But there's no weak aura that solves any of that.
No, it gives you a heads up of like, hey, you've got the claw on you. Hey, people drop off these circles, 2 on this side, 2 on that side. Like that stuff is all with the.
You might have a weak aura that tells you have the claw on you, but you should know that anyway. That shouldn't be.
But that's the change that they've done with this, is that like instead of it being like claw on you, you have to be like, oh, this claw is on me, right? Like in my setup, and I'm not a mythic raider, right? In my setup, when I get that claw, like it gives me an alert, like it is separated from everything else. It gives me like a little thing that's like, this is how long you have to get out before this claw gets dropped, so I can time my jump back in at the right time, right? Like the amount of assistance that I have with that on top of the circles where it's like I get assigned to drop your circle off here. I'm not communicating with my team to be like, oh, like my raid leaders aren't being like, Manny and Sean, you two are right, and you other 2 people, you 2 are left to drop off the gravity wells, right? That's being assigned.
No, we didn't. I mean, maybe we didn't. We just told people to make. So we're talking heroic, I assume. We just told people to make a cross with those gravity wells. Are you talking about the spiked balls at the end or the big circles in the animation?
The spiked balls at the end. We would put 2 on either side.
No, we just put 3 world markers down on either for heroic. We put 3 world markers down on either side, 1 for ranged, 1 for melee, and we just told people get on a marker. Nobody's assigned those in her.
For us, it was like we're going off. Yeah, like
no. I mean, even on Mythic, they're not assigned. It's the one spot is it's like, hey, go to this world marker, but you don't need a weak, like there's no weak aura that tells you like that's assigning you a spot to stand. It's just go to the weak aura, and then we're just saying in comms whether we're going left or right. Yeah, there's no weak aura solving that. It's
no, you can.
You could entirely do Salad. I could turn all my weak auras off and do Saladar.
Are there other fights? Are there other fights like
Fractalus is the only one.
Fractalus?
The only one. Every other fight you can turn off.
I'm sure Fractalus is just like, is that the speed that you have to go to?
It's not the speed. It's because there's no way. So you need a weak aura to do those computational solutions for you when it's either too fast, there's not enough time to do it. And I guess in Fractalus, it's a case that it's not enough time because there's no set logic to the assignment. 6 people are getting assigned 4 people are getting assigned wall builds.
Yeah.
And 6 people get assigned wall breaks and 2 sets of 4. And there's nothing that says, these 4, it's going to be 1 melee, 1 healer, 2 range. So it's too fast for 4 people to figure out where to go. Now you could, Lexus team did it on heroic. No weak auras, killed it in 1 pull.
We didn't use the auras for that.
But in Mythic,
we became our
in Mythic we used it because the fight takes a little bit longer, and it's the tank walls are 3 instead of 1, so there's more coordination to go with it. That's why it exists in Mythic. But literally every single other boss in this raid, you could uninstall weak auras, the add-on entirely, and do all of these bosses. And that's why I'm so frustrated.
Boss mechanics,
Yeah, that's why it's so frustrating for me, because and even in the mention of like a weak aura saying, hey, you have a claw on you. Now with those claws, the way to deal with them is usually just to stay still. But a weak aura telling you like, yeah, the dragon claws, you just stay still. Why would you move? The boss moves around the room. You cut the boss around the room.
Oh no, we kept the boss in the middle. We just put the claws out.
Oh, I mean, maybe it's different in heroic. I can't remember specifically heroic, but yeah. So we and even then you would just run out with the claw. You don't need an assignment for that. But the game itself,
no, it's not an assignment. It's just like
yeah. But the game itself should tell you. There shouldn't be a question. I shouldn't have to think, do I have a debuff? The game itself should be alerting me to the fact that I have a debuff, either through an arrow on your head, which I think the claws do put an arrow on your head. Or through a screen flash, I think was something you mentioned one time that I love the idea of that I don't see ever. That would be great if like the edges of your screen just like got whatever.
Yeah.
But that the game should tell us that stuff. Like so that's why it's frustrating for me for them to say, oh, our design space is restricted by weak auras because they make these things because they make the game. We have to build around them, and it's like this entire raid tier. And so last tier was worse. You had sticks and you had lock and stock that both required weak auras. And Muggsy, it was beneficial. You probably needed it for Muggsy for the jails. But Gallywix, not a weak aura. Not a single weak aura was required for Gallywix. And that's why it's so infuriating to me. Not infuriating, it's frustrating. When they say, oh, we can't do what we want to do. And I'm like, you have made some of the best bosses I've ever pulled in this world where weak auras exist, and they don't require weak auras. So you absolutely 100% can design in this space where these things exist and not have them be needed. And that's why it's frustrating for me for that to be the reason that we're losing a lot of customization and functionality. Yeah. No, Saladar is you could definitely turn off all your weak auras and do Saladar. There's nothing that requires assignment marking. You just put world markers down and tell people to go to spots.
I can see the world markers, and I'll say that I picked a bad example on that, but I could point out at Mythic Plus where there is several things that people use. We were just talking about even to like track the stops that are needed to keep things under control, which is just like any pack in Mythic Plus, right? That's there. And if it were designed like, going back to vanilla, and we've got like classic servers, we got BC classic servers coming up soon. You had an interrupt, and like, yeah, if somebody clipped your interrupt, it wasn't the end of the world because the spells weren't coming so frequently. And they weren't doing the spam casters. And so now they've removed the spam casters as they've shown here in one place. And I think it should be fine where it's not necessary for you to know every single cooldown that's available, because not every single cooldown needs to be coordinated, right? Not every single interrupt needs to be meted out so that we have one interrupt every 6 seconds and you've only got people with 24-second interrupts. Like, that to me is designing around a inhuman level of coordination that we have now started creating in the community through use of these add-ons. And I think that is the escalation that they're talking about, where it becomes, hey, I need you to have a defensive for every tank buster because I expect you to have a defensive for every tank buster. And and now I need you to have 2 more on top of that because I expect you to be able to have and coordinate every single external. And so if you can't coordinate every single external, then Blizzard, stop designing for Sean to have to call for every single external on the spot. And I think that's the escalation that needs to be adjusted. And then it becomes skillful for you to say, hey, this is coming up because you can still see the timeline, however garbage the Blizzard default timelines are. You can still see the timeline. They're garbage. I'm not defending that timeline, and I'm really glad that it can be skinned differently, right?
Yeah. And it's worse if you reskin it because it loads every
single bar.
You pull a boss, it loads every single bar up to the enrage again. For every cast.
Again, direction, right? Will we get there? We don't know. But I would love for the skill expression to be, I work with a really good healer and they know that I'm going to send on the first two things, and then I'm going to ask for it on the third one. Or maybe you've gotten so good that you just don't have to ask for it on the third one. They just know that. And so that will help you as a coordinated team. That level, I don't think should be the default expectation. And I think that when you put in on even the default, like let's say they give you your wish list and you on default, you know, every single external, they have to design for you to know and be able to grasp every single external that's out there. Right?
I want them to. Vanilla's boring. If I wanted to play vanilla, I would play vanilla.
No,
I would
but
go
I think,
play classic.
okay.
I like that it's fast paced. I like having to have all of my defensives scheduled and planned down to the second. That is fun for me.
I think that would be fine for you, and I think that would be fine for top end players. I don't think that it should be designed with that you need that from a 2+, as you said, right?
Yeah.
And I think that if I were to backseat design because you've now said that, I think that at a certain point, like let's say when Xalatat's Guile comes into play, maybe that's when they speed up the cadence of the casting. That starts requiring you to start getting closer to that level, so that people at the low end can miss an interrupt or two. People people who are getting into the higher end, each interrupt hurts more, and then when you get up to that higher end, that like highest cutting edge, you need to be on top of that. But I don't think it should be in the base UI, because as soon as it gets to the base UI, it is something that you need to design around people having that knowledge set at their fingertips.
Just have it toggleable. Have it be able to be turned off.
Toggle doesn't work. Toggle is a entrapment. If it's in the game by default, and even if you have to hit a toggle to opt in, well then you are entrapping people for not toggling that on. Right?
Okay. I think we're gonna have to agree to disagree.
Okay.
I don't think the people that stuff doesn't matter to, I don't think they care. I don't think any of this matters to them. I think this removal of add-ons for people that are playing in that level where a cast can go through and it doesn't kill you and it doesn't matter if you're using your defensives correctly or not. I don't think this doesn't even move the needle for them, because they were never doing content that was difficult enough for it to matter.
So there are 2 points to that, right? I think if they're doing content where it was not difficult for them for it to matter, they are doing content that they're over gearing in some aspect, right? That they're overpowering in some aspect, and I would rather incentives for them to learn better and to push themselves further, right?
Yeah.
Than it.
Those people are never going to do that. If they wanted to get better at the game,
I said incentives. I didn't say that you can lead. You can lead a horse to water. You cannot make it drink.
If those people wanted to get better, they would be doing it now. They want to overgear it. They want to overpower it. They want to get their KSM in the last week of the postseason. That's just who they are. And let them be happy. Let them be happy.
I think there is a subset of those players that are like that, for sure, Sean. For sure. 100% those people exist. You are 100% right on that. I just don't think that's the entire segment of players that are doing content at lower.
No, obviously not. I'm
levels.
being facetious, people. We need to. Lex isn't here. Someone's going to spice this up. Manny and I have been too agreeable all episode. We had to have.
We were just on the opposite end for that entire thing.
Yeah, that's what that was. It was great. It was great.
There you go.
Because we're about to jump back on the same side, I think.
With that said, I'm going to take a little bit of time. Well, actually, sorry. I shouldn't steal this away from you, Sean. I will let you do the patron thanks.
My thing. Folks, I want to give a special thanks to all our patrons out there. I want you to know For Azeroth will always be free. But if you enjoy the content we produce, you can consider pledging to our Patreon at patreon.com/FAZ. Or if you're so inclined, why don't you jump on your podcast aggregate of choice, whether that's Apple Podcasts or Spotify or iHeartRadio or Goodreads or whatever, wherever you're consuming us, YouTube, and leave us a comment, 5 stars preferably. Those will help the show get noticed and helps us get our voices into more ears. I can't think of something better than having more Manny and Sean inside of you, and that is the best way to make it happen. I hear it now. I regret it instantly.
Oh man. Well, if you're going to allow us to be inside of you, maybe you want to look nice for it. And so with that, let's talk about some transmog. That might be my best segue to date. Okay.
That's a pretty good segue. pretty good.
So, on top of all the damage meters, on top of all the issues with Mythic Plus and UI stuff, Blizzard is also upsetting people who are hardcore in a different aspect of play. These are the people who love their transmog, and Blizzard for Midnight is changing up the way transmog works. This is a new system. Wowhead had talked about it. Sean had specifically said, hey guys, this is not free. This is not going to be free. And when Wowhead did a follow-up article showing how true and how accurate Sean was, well, some people were not quite happy. Mm-hmm. Wowhead put out an article showing the cost that they had looked at on the beta and how much it would cost to unlock everything, how much it would cost to switch between stuff, how much it would cost to adjust these different outfits as you had set them up. And it was steep. It was very steep. And so there was an uproar from all the people that you would expect, or no, not really, from all the people you would normally be saying, oh, they're whining too much, now being really hit by a $800K price tag to unlock all 20 slots, as well as additional costs and fees that may have applied as they were needed. So the fine print came in and people were not happy. There was an outroar. Again, the original article was from Wowhead, so Blizzard had not put out any explanation ahead of time. And then quickly, Kaivax, Sean's favorite developer.
Show's favorite. Not just Sean's. Show's favorite.
Show's favorite.
He is mine, too.
How am I getting roped up into this?
He is mine, too. But it's better if we say it's the show favorite. It's less creepy at BlizzCon when I ask for a hug. So he's the show favorite. He's the show favorite.
Okay, all right. So then, the show's favorite, for really legal reasons, the show favorite.
Yeah, when the really nervous, bald, sweaty guy with the beard asks you for a hug, just let him know it's okay.
So Kaivex went to the forums and posted that, hey, this is just an early iteration, and that the 800K charge was always going to be account-wide. It just wasn't account-wide right away. So it wasn't 800K per character, which is, a lot. It's only 800K per account, which is still a lot for some people. And then
the phrasing made it sound like it was a bug that they had. Like we're having a hard time getting that to work right now. So okay, I wish that had been on the last line of the patch notes.
Yeah. And this makes sense because they have always been saying for a while that they are doing things way more on an account-wide level. And so I guess it should have felt strange that this was something that was being done per character. But they went further. And they were saying that the cost to unlock each outfit slot would be reduced by 80%.
Yeah.
And then the cost to save a full outfit, because you have to save these full outfits, or if you change part of the outfit, if you change the entire outfit in that slot, that was going to be reduced by 60%. And then they also added 30 extra slots. So instead of 20 slots, you can now get up to 50 slots to save outfits.
Yep.
But they didn't say that total cost was inclusive of the 80% reduction. So when you add 60% increasingly more expensive slots, that kind of works against the 80% reduction. So I could see some people who are now wanting to unlock it all at 20 slots, now wanting to unlock it all at 50 slots, and it might be very much getting right back to that 800K price tag again.
Feels a lot like Black Friday when they change the baseline price of the item and then they mark it up and then say it's on sale for 50%. Yeah, there was. I want to jump in. There was two major issues with it. So this is Warbound. It was going to be always going to be Warbound. We're having trouble getting it to happen. That needed to come out ahead of time. The price reductions, that was all due to community feedback. So that post that came out today. These came out separate. That post came out today. It's fine for that post to come out after the fact. We're not expecting Blizzard to be able to read the minds of the player base and know that they think 800K is a lot of gold. But why this needed to be announced beforehand and announced by Blizzard is because Blizzard changed some naming conventions in this transmog system that in the Wowhead article, people were reading the word outfit. So right now, outfit on retail is any outfit that you design in the transmog viewer and save it as an outfit. You can save up to 20 of these. There's no cost to design them, no cost to save them. It only costs to apply them. In the new transmog system, the name of those has been changed to custom sets. Those are no longer called outfits. Now, outfits are the slots that you buy that at the time would cost up to 800,000 gold for 20. So people were reading that they were losing their outfit slots that they were creating transmog in that they would have to pay. And so I saw tweets and people on Twitch, I have to pay for something that I get for free right currently. Why would they do this? It's like, well, they didn't. Those are custom sets. Blizzard needed this because this system is such a massive change. This had to come. We get those housing articles where it's like, here's what a house is. Have fun in your neighborhood. You have to have the game to buy a house. We needed that for this transmog set to come out. It needed to explain the differences. It used to be called outfits, now called custom sets, still free. And I think they're uncapped now, actually. Here in this tab over here, next to the sets that we design for you, that now show up, even if they're not full, which is a huge, this whole transmog system is so good. There's so many wins in this new transmog system. And then they needed to explain these outfits are not the outfits you're used to now. They're these slots. And if you're a person who sets it and forgets it, you're going to have that one-time cost and you're never going to pay again. And you're always going to wear that same dope transmog that you wear all the time. And it's going to be awesome. It was the people who changed their outfits a lot that were going to be getting hit with those high costs. And anybody who wanted to have multiple things set up for scenarios, which is the other new thing added to this transmog set, where you can set it so when I'm sky riding, I'm wearing one of those Skyrider outfits that I got from struggling through the dragon races, and if I'm underwater, I can wear the scuba set that I've never put on once, but I had to buy and then complain that I didn't have enough traders tenders to buy other things, even though I bought this thing I'm never, ever going to wear. Which is a lot like real life when I complain that I don't have enough money for something, but I already own 8 cameras. Anyway, why do I keep buying cameras, Manny? So all of these changes were good, but this post and the Warbound announcement had to come before so much. And then people can give the feedback. Cause if all of that is known, if we know what outfits are, we know what custom sets are, we know what scenarios are, and we know it's going to be Warbound, then people look at the sticker price and they're not freaking out. They're still upset because it's still a really high number and they can give that feedback, but it's less, it's like you mentioned, when we know that you have your eye on this stuff already, we're not so worried about what might get missed. And this came out and people were just like, oh my God, well, how is this so much worse than what we have now? And I'm just like, we still don't have damage taken. I don't care.
Also, people need to realize that they're not addressing inflation. The amount of gold you get for a world quest in the War Within versus the amount of gold you got for a world quest in Dragonflight and Shadowlands has constantly been going up, right? The amount of play money just a regular casual player has is going to go up. And so the cost of these things is somewhat in line with that. I suspect it would have been better in the Wowhead article, and I'm not going to ask Wowhead to be less sensational about their journalism. That's not my place. But if they had shown the cost of a level 80 doing a transmog on live versus a level 80 on beta to actually compare apples to apples, I think that this could have really helped a bit. If the article had taken some time to say, oh, all of this here, when it gets shifted over to the beta, means that you're going to have to do these costs here, right? It would have been better. Now, I do want to say, though, that in Wowhead's defense, in the article, which I feel some people complaining on the internet didn't do, they showed what you had just said, where, hey, these sets, they're going to be shifted into this new column here, and this is where it's going, right? So, like, I want to be
They didn't
fair.
have that in the title, though, Manny. I just read the title. I'm going to need Wowhead to start putting all of this information in the titles because it's all people are reading. So that's it. I just need 700-word title, please.
700-word title. Yeah.
Here's what the title should have been. And in all honesty, their title isn't. We're sort of saying that sometimes they're sensationalist or clickbaity is a term that a lot of people use, but their title is not. It's like it's pretty plain and accurate. It costs up to 5,700 gold to save a full transmog to an outfit slot in Midnight. That's just a fact. There's no sensation. But what I need you to add to that, Wowhead, is also outfits are called something different now. You're going to keep your outfits also. If you're only changing one piece, it's less. Also, this is at level 90.
What is this, an anime title?
Yeah.
I went to Midnight and became a Phantom Warrior in a clothes shop? No. I do think that it is the point that they chose to highlight is sensational, right?
Yeah.
My goodness, look at this 4-figure number to change an outfit slot, right? With the explanation of what an outfit slot is, right?
Okay, all right.
Coming further down in the article. And so if you are somebody who just clicks through and just reads the article and then jumps onto Twitter because I don't have time to read all of that and look, they got a chart. Oh no.
Yeah, or doesn't even read, is scrolling Twitter, sees the headline, and then just immediately hits quote retweet and, F you in giant letters across the screen. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right.
Yeah. So I'm not going to put this all on Wowhead, but I feel like they're feeding into this deficiency of the Twitterverse, as it were.
Girls gotta eat, Manny.
Girls gotta eat. I guess. Well, no shade to Squishy. They gotta get his money. Gotta get his purse, baby.
Was it Squishy who wrote that one? Yeah.
I don't even know who wrote this one.
You get that bag, Squishy. You get it.
It was Squishy. You get that bag, Squishy. You get that bag. Anyways, I do find that the moral of today's episode is proactive communication goes a long way and can help shape the feedback that they're getting into far more constructive and focused means. And so, yeah, I'd like to start talking about some other things other than how screwed up the UI is. But because it is such an important part of the end game and how people interface with this game, it is going to be a topic that we are going to revisit quite often.
Yeah. We'll get there. I believe.
That's a better position than you were in earlier this week.
I am pretty sure I said fire everybody and start over. I was quite frustrated earlier in the week. We've grown since then. Yeah.
And hopefully we will grow yet again next week. But until next time, may all your hits be crits.